Hey everyone, Pratima here. So if you were to ask me what my favorite Apple product of last year was, my answer would most definitely be the Watch Ultra. Not only did it introduce an entirely new Apple Watch experience, but it also stood as this really unique, one-of-a-kind smartwatch that does not actually have any real competition when you think about it. So how has Apple followed it up with the Watch Ultra 2 this year? Well, this thing is as iterative as they come. And if I were to list all that's new this time, this video would end up in like a couple of minutes at best. A brighter display, a faster S9 chip, and a few other quality of life upgrades are more or less all there's to it. And the same goes for the new Watch Series 9 as well. So it's pretty obvious that if you own the Watch Series 8 or the first gen Watch Ultra, there's simply no need to upgrade to these guys. But if you're coming from a much older Apple Watch, or if you're in the market for your very first Apple Watch, then which of these should you get? To figure that out, I have been testing the Watch Series 9 and the Watch Ultra 2 side by side for almost a month now. I know I'm a little late with this review, but I had to, since one of the biggest highlights of Apple's latest smartwatches, which is that double tap gesture, was not available until very recently. And after getting used to it for a while, I've got to say this is one of those nice to have features, but not something that I would particularly drool over. The idea behind this is to basically let you control a bunch of shortcuts with a simple double tap gesture between your thumb and index finger without having to use both hands. There are moments when I've found this genuinely useful, but I still feel like it could have been a lot more intuitive. First off, how responsive it is directly depends on how aggressively you double tap, both on the Watch Ultra 2 and the Series 9. Plus, it does not work well with all the apps either, so more often than not, the watch would throw me an error when I wanted to do something. So even if it has plenty of potential, Apple still has a lot of work to do if it really wants to sell this feature. Oh, and this double tap gesture does not work with previous models, by the way. Apple says that it's mostly made possible by the faster neural engine on the new S9 chip, although you can use this feature on your older Apple Watches in some capacity by turning on the assistive touch feature in the settings. Anyway, talking about this new S9 chipset, I found out that things like getting by the UI or launching an app are not drastically faster here compared to Watch Series 8 or 7 that comes with the S8 chip, but I can definitely say that Apple's latest smartwatches feel more responsive in general. These two also come with 64 gigs of internal storage now, which is exactly double versus the predecessors. And if you're someone who loves chatting it up with Siri, then you're going to love what you can do on both the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and the Series 9. Because thanks to the S9 chip, these two can process Siri requests on device itself. Of course, it does not work when you have to pull some information off the internet, but I no longer need to wait for an active Wi-Fi or cellular connectivity when trying to send a message, start a workout, set a timer, etc. through Siri. Apple also says it has improved dictation by as much as 25%, although that was pretty much a hit or a miss in my experience. I guess it depends on things like your accent and enunciation as well, but Series 8 and Series 7 were not that far behind either when I tried dictating a tongue twister or sending a casual message to my sister. Similarly, you get an updated second-gen ultra-wideband chip on board on this year's Apple Watches. Hence, you can now precisely locate your iPhones from the watch itself. Unfortunately, it only works with the iPhone 15 series, so there's that. Alright, moving on. As far as the design and build quality are concerned, Apple literally has not made any changes on the Watch Ultra 2 and the Series 9 over last year's models. This means the Series 9 bears the same elegant, classic Apple Watch look, while the Ultra 2 kicks things up a notch and then some with its muscular design. I was honestly hoping Apple would bring a smaller Watch Ultra this time, or at the very least a different color option, but this guy is still available in a single 49mm case with a silver finish. I've gotten kind of used to this form factor after all this time, but yeah, it's going to look a bit cartoonish on your hand if you have really tiny wrists like mine. Not to mention, this thing's also quite heavy, weighing a little over 60 grams. Whereas with the Series 9, Apple lets you pick between either a 41 or 45mm case for the best fit, and there's even a new pink color option. But let me tell you that it's not like the Watch Ultra 2's bulky design does not serve any purpose either. With a strong titanium case, sapphire crystal glass protecting the display, and all the ingress protection that you can possibly find on a smartwatch, I absolutely love how carefree I can get with this thing. The bigger digital crown and the side button also feel more accessible now, while this customizable action button comes in handy every now and then too. Apple has also made the most out of the Ultra 2's larger footprint by including a bigger vibration motor for tighter and more precise haptic feedback, alongside dual speakers and a triple mic array for significantly clearer phone calls. On the other hand, I almost have this sense of anxiety every time I put on the Watch Series 9 about how I'm going to bump into things and scratch it, or worse. And because of the curved display, it's even more prone to accidental damage. You can upgrade the Series 9 with a stronger stainless steel case which has a sapphire crystal glass as well, but that upgrade alone is almost 70% more expensive, and at that point I think spending a little extra for the Ultra 2 itself makes more sense if you're okay with its form factor. There's really not much to complain about their displays though. From the color reproduction to touch responsiveness and pretty much everything you could imagine, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and the Series 9 already have some of the best screens on any smartwatch. Plus, Apple has also bumped the max brightness by exactly 1000 nits on both the models this time. That means the Series 9 can now hit 2000 nits at best, while the Ultra 2 can get as bright as 3000 nits. The weather's been pretty awesome here in Kathmandu these past few weeks, and when I went on a hike on a especially sunny day, I had absolutely no trouble reading stuff on either of them. In addition, this brightness boost also has an added benefit if you're in a really dark environment, like when I'm out jogging at night or trying to locate something in my room during a power cut. Apart from getting ridiculously bright, these two can now get as dim as 1 nit for more comfortable visibility during night as well. I also like how Apple has tried to make the most out of the edge-to-edge display here with the watchOS 10. Practically every app takes up much of the screen real estate now, and there's just so much more information that I can get at a glance. The stackable sets of widgets are also quite useful, whereas this new modular Ultra watch face for the Watch Ultra 2 looks really cool and gives me a ton of real-life information like elevation level and compass too. Apple's newest smartwatches are no slouch when it comes to health tracking either. The heart rate, ECG, and blood oxygen data that I've been getting from these two is pretty much the same. But for some reason, their sleep tracking is not as consistent as I'd like. It's not that their readings are off every single time, but on multiple occasions, I've noticed that my Watch Ultra 2 over-records my sleep cycle by quite some margin. So I hope that this gets fixed with an update. Likewise, Apple Watches are some of the best in terms of fitness tracking, and these guys live up to their hype just fine. And the ability to add compass waypoints continues to be one of my favorite Apple Watch features. Just think of it as a way of pinning important locations like the starting point of a hike, for example, and then the watch can guide you back to the point in case you happen to forget the way. Plus, one neat little update with watchOS 10 is the elevation view, where I can use that double tap gesture for a clearer 3-dimensional view of all my waypoints. Backtrack is another useful feature that's similar to pinning waypoints, but it records your steps so that you can trace it back to the origin point if you lose your way. So yeah, it's pretty clear that the Watch Series 9 itself is pretty competent at tracking your health and wellness. Well then, who's the Watch Ultra 2 for? As I mentioned in the very beginning, if you're one of those outdoor sports enthusiasts, then this guy offers a whole lot more than the Watch Series 9. First things first, the Ultra 2's dual frequency GPS alone is a big deal for athletes. Instead of just the usual L1 GPS signal, its support for the stronger L5 signal means that it's going to log your workout trail a lot more accurately, especially where there are a lot of physical infrastructures around you like trees, bridges, and tall buildings. As you can see, be it when I'm walking down the narrow streets of Kathmandu or through the dense forests of a hill, the Watch Ultra 2's GPS log is a lot less error-free versus that from the Watch Series 9. Likewise, in case of an emergency, its built-in siren that can get as loud as 86 decibels can also be potentially life-saving by alerting others about your whereabouts. The Watch Ultra 2 is also better suited for mountaineers or scuba divers since it has all the necessary hardware and software expertise to get you through such extreme outdoor sports. On top of all this, the Watch Series 9 also falls behind in battery life. On days with not much GPS usage, I've been getting almost 2 days and a little over 3 days of backup from the Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2 respectively. Okay, let me wrap things up now, and I'm pretty sure you figured out which one of these makes the most sense for you, right? So if a typical Apple Watch experience is what you're shopping for, which skips most of the bells and whistles of the Ultra, then the Watch Series 9 is exactly what you would want on your wrist. Whereas the Watch Ultra 2 mostly makes sense for the pro endurance athletes who can get the best out of everything this thing has to offer. It's an uncompromisingly bold smartwatch and one of the best examples I can think of where a product's form has so cleverly followed its function. I can recommend it to anyone with a deep enough pocket who's bored with just how generic looking Apple's regular smartwatches have gotten lately. But let me reiterate that if you already have the first gen Watch Ultra or something like the Series 6, 7 or 8, then there's really no reason to upgrade yet. Which means if you'd rather save some money on the previous models, that makes perfect sense too. Instead, the Watch Series 9 and the Watch Ultra 2 are for first-time Apple Watch buyers or those with a much older models who have been waiting to upgrade for all this time. Alright everybody, that was all for my review of the Watch Ultra 2 and the Watch Series 9. I hope this video was helpful for you in choosing which one's better for you. And if it was, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. Till then, I'm Pratima and thank you so much for watching.